Well, I think it's disgusting, and I get a kick out of one thing. They say, sir, be nice. You just got hit with a bullet. Maybe he's changed. Be nice. And I'd love to be nice, but I'm dealing against real garbage. When you hear that.
That was former President Donald Trump responding to a recent campaign speech by Vice President Kamala Harris. In today's Spotlight, Trump is ramping up his attacks on the presumptive Democratic nominee. In the days since President Biden dropped out of the presidential race, Trump's remarks on his now political opponent have been criticized by many as both sexist and racist. Sources tell ABC News that in a closed-door meeting, House Speaker Mike Johnson has urged lawmakers to focus their attacks on the VP on her record, not on her identity. And now we are hearing a comment resurface in 2021 from Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, who called Harris a childless cat lady.
Who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children.
Mike Muse, Marsha Espinosa, and John Katko. Marsha, I'll go to you first. We heard these comments from J.D. Vance on Fox News back in 2021, essentially accusing the vice president of not having children, of calling her a cat lady. The second gentleman's ex-wife put out a statement today saying Kamala has been a co-parent to their stepchildren for more than 10 years. We also heard Jennifer Aniston weigh in on this today. She said, Mr. Vance, I pray that your daughter is fortunate enough to bear children of her own one day. Marsha, I'm curious what you make of this line of attack from J.D. Vance and what the reaction has been so fiercely on social media and beyond.
Well, look, I've worked for powerful elected officials who happen to be women before, and so this is nothing new. But it's important to label these, like you mentioned, racist and sexist comments for what they are. And that's an attempt to undermine a very powerful woman's talent and career because of her gender or her skin color. But I love that the Harris campaign just came right back out. And today they put out a statement wishing a happy IVF day to everyone except J.D. Vance. And they're just really coming back at it. Because, look, treating people without children like they're lesser human beings is just cruel. So I think, go ahead and keep these comments coming. All it is going to do is activate women from all across the sides.
Right, and we did hear prominent IVF groups, of course, come out forcefully and say this is an option many families have to turn to who want to have children. And the other line of attack, Mike Muse, that we're hearing is this GOP strategy of calling Harris a DEI candidate, diversity, equity, and inclusion candidate. What does it say to you that this is the attack line they're going for? Is it part of the fact that they don't really have a strategy yet when it comes to how they're going to take on the vice president? They've been really just repeating those lines against President Biden and his age as the line of attack.
Elizabeth Schulte, I hate to admit this, but this just isn't a GOP dynamic. This is something that has been brewing in America as of recently, and it's intensified in the last couple of years. And I think that the GOP and GOP elected officials feel comfortable in saying it because, Elizabeth, the ground is fertile for them to say it. America is currently moving into this anti-DEI movement with the elimination of corporate DEI positions being eliminated from corporations, departments being eliminated, the Supreme Court's action becoming anti-affirmative action, and then you hear this unconscionable idea of what is an American, who can be an American. I've unfortunately have had so many conversations in the last year with people who I would have imagined would have had an expanded narrative of what it means to be an American and what it means for equitable outcomes, feeling like things are being taken from them. Their kids are not being admitted to top universities because a DEI student has taken their place. I've even had a conversation with a mother who felt that she wasn't getting her book published because they're only looking for DEI books. And so this is a narrative that is permeating across America, and it just so happened that these candidates now are discussing it because the ground makes them comfortable enough to do this. And so this is a larger narrative and conversation that we should be having with Americans about how do they perceive this idea of othering and this idea that something is being taken away from them.
Really always interesting points. And Mike, it has been striking to watch Fortune 500 companies that made some of those DEI pledges kind of completely go back on them just in recent months and do so very quickly, to your point. I am curious, John Katko, when we just talk about this kind of nasty rhetoric that goes back and forth, these attack lines, we have, of course, heard some of this on both sides. I mean, we did hear earlier in the month the First Lady called former President Trump evil. Is some of what's also at play here this lack of civility in politics altogether? There's no kind of regard for civility in political campaigns and any optimism that this could get better.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we saw in the last several months death to all Jews and protests from people on college campuses. And now we're seeing this ignorant and racist comments by some in the Republican Party against Kamala Harris. And to me, the fact that the Speaker of the House Representative has to admonish people not to get into racial slurs is really kind of amazing to me. And it's emblematic of a bigger problem in our country, and that is both sides don't know how to tone it down. And we really need a Reagan or Clinton to come back along and settle things down, because until we do, we're going to continue to endure this nonsense, unfortunately.
Really tough to watch, and fair to point out, though, the comments for what they are. All of you, appreciate you. Mike, Marsha, and John, thank you so much.